Hey guys, okay, today's video is going to be History of the Cold War in one take by History Bombs. You know I like History Bombs videos, so yeah, just going to go ahead and start watching it. We're going to enjoy it, and we're going to see where I can add in any information or context, but usually they do an outstanding job of providing information. Now this one's 7 minutes. 7 minutes of one take. That is impressive.
This video is part of History Bombs Classroom, award-winning online resources.
Sir, that's the 5th one today. The same identical message. 2 history bombs do the Cold War in one take? But what does it mean?
History bombs, huh? It's gotta be the Russians, that spy network. Maybe something to do with the Manhattan Project. I gotta take this to the president.
Guys, I've got this.
Who's that guy?
Pass me the mic, I'm coming through. So you thought there would be peace after World War II? How could you be so naive to believe that we've seen the worst of the 20th century? On one side, the communist USSR, the capitalist USA. Hoorah! The tension.
I love when they portray the USA in History Bombs. They always give them the aviators and the leather jacket. They did it for, I believe, I think they did it for World War II, and I think they also did it for World War I.
About to blow sky high at the Potsdam Conference 1945.
We did it, Stalin. Chalked up a win, and we've each got a nice little piece of Berlin.
My victory, Truman. Your troops arrived late, but at least I've seized.
Yeah, oh, okay. So, from my understanding of certain things that transpired, FDR and Stalin had a fairly decent relationship, I guess one could say. I think FDR was probably the better, I guess, diplomat than Truman was. You know, you can feel free to disagree, by the way. Go ahead and comment down below your thoughts on what I'm about to say here. But I think FDR was probably more capable, or at least it seems like FDR up until, you know, his death was capable of handling and I guess dealing with Stalin. And FDR was an intelligent man. He was, you know, he's the only man in U.S. history to ever win 4 terms in a row. And he won each term by pretty much a landslide, every single one. Like, he cleared the 270 elector votes needed. Or, it was 270 by the 1930s, it was, right? I'm not sure, but yeah, I think he was better able to handle Stalin and keep him, I guess, in check, and was also able to, I guess, give and take at the right times. Truman, on the other hand, was a bit more, I guess, against communism, against Stalin and stuff, so tensions built there, I believe. If I'm wrong, go ahead and let me know.
It's the Baltic states.
So you're gonna pull back. Time to take stock?
What? Are you jealous of my Eastern Bloc? So you want Russian help to defeat Japan?
Well, actually, I've got an explosive plan.
The Potsdam Agreement split Germany and Austria into 4 occupied zones as an iron curtain fell across Europe. This was the only time Truman and Stalin met face to face. Just 1 week after the conference, Truman unleashed America's top secret nuclear weapons on Japan without informing Stalin, fueling mistrust between the former allies.
This is George Kennan, reporting from Moscow, ma'am. Eyes only for Truman, a long telegram. It must be America's firm intention to contain Soviet global aggression.
This is Novikov reporting from United States. Tell Stalin we must spend whatever it takes. The US are clearly laying foundations for total global domination.
I would love... It's crazy. You know, movies set up this whole... Like, it feels so, like, unreal. The amount of, I guess, spying that occurred between the United States and the Soviets. Like, what happened? It sounds so, like, fake. You know, like stuff that would only happen in an action movie or something. But, man, it's really crazy. That kind of stuff, I guess, just happened. And it only happened 50 years ago? You know, so it's crazy. Not that long ago.
Kennan's long telegram
And I mean, technically, a lot of it is still going on today.
Influenced the Truman Doctrine and Marshall Plan, which provided aid to countries threatened by Soviet communism. The US sent aid to Turkey and Greece, but when they tried to introduce the Deutschmark in Germany, Stalin blockaded supplies to West Berlin. Cue the Berlin airlift.
Look up, Stalin. You can block the roads, but the Brits are plying it with peaceful payloads.
Good on you, mate. How about some credit for the US, Aussie, Kiwi and Canadian
We've been
effort?
dropping 9,000 tons of supplies a day, mostly coal and potatoes, hardly gourmet. Now find me a runway. I need to hit the ground.
You can head home, mate. Stalin's just back down.
What?
The Allies flew in vital supplies to West Berlin until Stalin backed down in May 1949. In the same year, the Western Allies formed NATO to counterweight Russia. But that winter, the balance of power was about to shift dramatically east.
Comrade, welcome to the Soviet Union, and kudos on your communist revolution.
And so a new era for China begins. I need good news to take back to Beijing.
An alliance together, if I may say so, would surely put it right up NATO.
Let's renew the Sino-Soviet alliance.
Agreed. Now, you like rocket science?
Stalin and Mao renewed the Sino-Soviet alliance, presenting a seismic shift in geopolitics. Once
Yeah.
more, the USSR
Except that the alliance between the Soviets and the Russians would not last. They would have their own tensions and, I guess, disagreements in, I guess, their communist philosophy would happen over time.
secretly tested their first nuclear weapon. Both superpowers began spreading their influence abroad, backing a complex web of competing governments and rebel groups until tensions crystallized on the Korean peninsula.
Okay, boys, it's good to see you. The commies are backing North Korea, so we'll be supporting our troops on the ground. Getting up close to the speed of sound. All right, now remember, it's a UN mission. We're part of a Western coalition protecting the South. You got that, Briggs? Yes, sir. Time to bag me a mig.
The Korean War hit a stalemate until an armistice began in 1953. North and South Korea were split along the 38th parallel, a line that still divides the country today. Over the next decade, tensions escalated further and the conflict became truly global. Are you paying attention? Let's go. Stalin died and Truman lost power. In come Khrushchev and Eisenhower. The Warsaw Pact binds the Eastern Bloc, but the Russian and Chinese bond is rocked. In 56,
Yeah,
the Hungarian
as I was talking
uprising
about.
is smashed by the Russians. The world's realizing that these superpowers crush those who oppose. As the CIA ruthlessly hunts in the shadows,
Yep.
the space race makes for a dazzling sideshow. As Khrushchev
Dying.
cranks up the pressure from Moscow in the Berlin crisis, you probably guessed they put up a wall to split east and west. And just before you begin to relax, an island off Florida has just unpacked a lethal arsenal of Soviet nukes. The world holds its breath, and I'm gonna puke.
My fellow Americans, as a Soviet mover to put a boatload of nukes on the island of Cuba, it would appear that Moscow has fed us lies, and I will not stand idly by. Now I know what you're thinking, last year wasn't great. The Bay of Pigs was a big mistake, but after careful thought, the decisions be made. We'll stop Moscow ships with a naval blockade.
For 13 days, the world held its breath as Washington and Moscow communicated via unreliable back channels. Despite some close calls, Khrushchev agreed to remove the weapons if Kennedy removed his own missiles from Turkey. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, an ill-advised proxy war was growing out of control.
Well, good morning, Vietnam. Lit by furious 5 napalm, scarred by a million brutal shells. A jungle paradise turned to hell. And is this battle really ours? Where's the just within this cause? America, elephant scared by a mouse drawing lines in the sand when the tide is out.
For 2 decades, the US fought a futile war against communist
Hold up, can we just say, impressive on that man. Look, he's standing stock still right now. And he's gonna still be he's keeping that face, mouth. That's tough.
back North Vietnam until the US
I
withdrew.
don't think he's blinking.
In
I don't know.
1972, President Nixon traveled to Beijing and Moscow, holding talks to limit the arms race during a period known as détente. However, in 1979, Cold War tensions would ratchet up once more.
Sir, we just got word from Afghanistan, a communist coup.
Sounds like a Soviet plan.
Yes, sir. The Russians are sending advisors. Clearly, they're trying to undermine us.
So let's support the other side.
The Islamist fighters.
Yeah, that sounds fine. Encourage them to fight a holy war with the Soviet Union.
Well, if you're sure.
The Soviet Union sent thousands of
Yeah.
troops to support the Communist Party in Afghanistan, but they failed to defeat local Mujahideen fighters backed by the USA. In 1987,
Those Mujahideen fighters, that wouldn't come to bite us in the butt later, right? Right?
Gorbachev and Reagan signed a treaty to limit nuclear weapons as the Soviet economy began to fail. And in 1989, the eyes of the world turned to Berlin.
We're sick of silence. We will not rest. Berlin has won, not east and west. But there's one thing of which I'm certain. It's time to end this iron curtain.
We must destroy this brutal vision, this ugly symbol of division. East and West, join the call. Hey Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
In 89, the wall came down, and Eastern Europe stood its ground with a sweeping wave of revolutions against their Soviet institutions. Finally, after 50 years of proxy wars and nuclear fears, the world began to heal the scars of countless battles near and far. And present day, fast forward the clock, we're still living with the aftershock.
Oh yeah,
This
we are.
global war for domination affected almost every nation. So don't assume this war was cold, that it didn't take a human toll. For the millions who died for their nation states, let us learn from their fate.
Click here to subscribe. Click here for a behind-the-scenes video.
That was great. That was great. I love history bombs. They do such a good job. They cover the right amount of information needed. For their scope of the video, right? This is not meant to be an in-depth look into the Cold War, obviously. An in-depth look into the Cold War is going to take you years, right? You're not going to get an in-depth look into the Cold War in 7 minutes. And that's not the point. The point is to broadly discuss the major actions that occurred throughout the 50 or so years that we call the Cold War. And then to also try and leave a message at the end. And I think the message that they do leave at the end is an extremely important one to take to heart and to keep it up in your brain. Because calling it a Cold War kind of does give that connotation that it's not a war, that it didn't really affect that many people, right? You think of Cold War and you think, okay, arms race stuff. You don't really, but then when you look deeper into it, you see millions of people lost their lives, millions of Vietnamese, millions of Koreans, millions of Chinese because of the Chinese Civil War, and then Mao Zedong's plans, or well, decisions ended up costing tens of millions of Chinese lives. Innocent Afghanis killed in the Soviet invasion in the 80s. And then because of the, I guess, and then Iran as well brought about issues with the Iranian Civil War, which wasn't even mentioned in this video, and that's another thing. Pretty much nearly every South American country south of Mexico, Mexico probably as well, Cuba, all these countries had the Soviets and the United States supporting opposite sides just so the other would not win and gain more influence. It was only just a split on ideologies. So, yeah, I think it's important when talking about the Cold War that there must be a in-depth discussion about, because I feel like now, I'm typically very lenient when it comes to the education system in the United States because there is so much history to cover that you cannot really properly do it justice in the way the public education is set up, and there does need to be changes. However, I think the changes that need to be made, these changes have to be less strict on teachers, and they instead need to be more lenient on teachers, where the teachers kind of act like professors at a university. Professors at a university pretty much dictate everything that happens in the class. They dictate what gets talked about and what the students learn. It's just that I guess the university tells them, all right, so this is the class you're teaching. Go ahead and make a plan and get these students to learn about whatever the hell encompasses this time period or whatever, right? At least that's my understanding of it. I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm too far off. based on my experience from talking to professors, and then also my experience in learning how one teaches at the high school level with secondary education. So I think, got to be more lenient, let teachers have more independence in what they teach the students, because I think that would be better, because then you can get those teachers to also then teach what they're most passionate about when they discuss a certain topic, and it really helps those students learn more about that time period if the teacher is passionate about it, right? But going off of that tangent, in the United States, when you learn about the Cold War, you don't really talk about the loss of life from other countries. You talk about the proxy wars and the conflicts between the Soviet Union and the United States. You don't get into a talk on, I guess, the repercussions truly. You do learn about certain repercussions, as in relations with the country, trade, and I guess if it affects the country, you learn about those repercussions. For instance, the failed invasion of Afghanistan by the Russians. You learn about the repercussions there. You don't really learn about the repercussions of Korea, the stalemate in Korea, because it didn't really do much in terms of repercussions except for extra tensions in that region. You don't learn about the repercussions it had in the United States, if any. And so those I feel like those repercussions need to be discussed more in classes. But yeah. So yeah, you don't really talk about those elements in American classrooms. I'm going to take a wild guess that you probably also don't truly learn about those in other Western countries. Probably don't learn about it as well in Russia. Now, there are certainly, you are going to learn about the repercussions that occurred to Russian society, I'm willing to guess. Right? That's typically how schooling around the world works. You will learn about the repercussions that it brought to your own country. That's kind of how it typically works. But yeah, kind of needs a more worldly look at the history, I think. But that's enough of that tangent. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I did. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Remember to leave a suggestion down below for what you'd like to see me react to next. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.